So I just entered university, and in this video I'm gonna give you my plan for how I'm gonna handle that. And the purpose of this video is so that I can watch it later and look back on how cool I am for openly stating this stuff. And for you to make fun of me for being so naive. And then also for me to later make fun of you because I actually will pull this off and I'm not being naive. I think. So, anyways. First of all, my priorities. My priority, rather. There is no real plural for priorities, even though people say it like this, including me. So my priority is that I want, or my goal long term is that I want to build a big gaming studio. That means that I pretty much do not care about how attractive I am for people to hire me. And by that I mean like my grades and stuff. I do not give a fuck. Now I do care about passing, largely because of my parents. However, I must say that because the skills that I need to build a gaming studio and the stuff that I'm gonna learn in university, because like I study game design and management, those things heavily overlap. So if I study not just to get a grade but to actually learn stuff, I kill two birds with one stone, excuse me. So the priority is still the game that I'm currently working on. However, that's not the most time intensive. The most time intensive thing is actually just learning to get better at this, because a lot of the time I'm just waiting for someone else to do stuff. So right now I'm working with a programmer, and I have done all of the planning that I realistically can do before actually having prototyping shit. And yeah, so right now basically I'm waiting for him to create the first thing so that I can fine-tune them. Because if you plan too far ahead, you just get punched in the face, as Mike Tyson would say. Where's Jackie? So every morning after I'm done with a morning routine, which basically is like I get ready, I do a little bit of cardio, we're talking about like 5 minutes. Then I revise notes, which is important. And then I just go on a little walk, and I eat something and I meditate, basically. So, anyways, after I'm done with that, on days on which I don't have uni, very early in the morning at least, I'm just gonna immediately start working, as I have done, for the recent past. Yeah. So, anyways. Usually that is actually going to be learning, and that means probably reading books or just thinking about stuff that I've read about and revising notes and stuff. So that's basically going to be my work tasks, and I'm just going to do that until I can't focus anymore. And once I can't focus anymore, I am simply going to take a break until I can focus again. Pretty clever of me, huh? And then I'm just going to work again, or study again. Yeah. And whenever I can work on my game in a way that actually has leverage, so something that matters, I will do so instead of studying. Unless, of course, the thing that I'm studying right now will make me better at that task, and in that case, obviously, it will make sense to wait maybe a day or two with doing that. So, for example, if I can learn about an important level design principle right now, then it would make sense to do that before working on a level, if that makes sense. So this is how I'm going to do this. Now, I assume that even though there is a very big overlap between what I actually need to learn and what I should learn for university, what I'm supposed to learn for university rather, there will probably be some misalignments. So I think there are probably going to be some things that aren't necessarily useless, but aren't quite worth my time. For example, we have a subject called like project management and presentation techniques. I'm studying in Germany because I'm German, if you can't tell from my accent. So yeah, I mean it's called different. It has a different name, but that would be the translation. So, anyways, we are supposed to, over the course of the semester, spend about 125 hours, I believe, studying this kind of stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really see a reason to spend that much time on that subject. In my personal opinion, I should, we have like think like 20, 30 hours of classes in that subject anyway, so honestly, I doubt that I will even have to read a single book on the subject. Like, I've already read a book on project management. I didn't like the book that much, to be honest. It wasn't interesting to me, but not saying that it was useless, but I just didn't like it because it's boring as fuck. But anyways, I don't think that it would make sense to spend that much time learning that stuff. Not because project management isn't useful, but I think because for the most part, the way that I'm going to learn project management, besides, after reading about the basics and stuff, is probably just through experience. And what better experience to gain than actually developing fucking games and, or failing to develop games and then learn from those mistakes. So I'm going to try to really minimize the amount of effort the amount of time that I put into that stuff, for example. However, with that being said, I will still make sure that I learn everything diligently. The thing is just I have a high IQ, so I can get away with way less studying time than most people. At least my past experience, like for example, like I didn't get a good grade in math and in high school at the end, but I watched a couple of YouTube videos and then I practiced for like half an hour or something, and I passed. And I just worked off short-term memory there. That was like the day before the math exams, because basically I just procrastinated for an entire month because I fucking hated this shit. Yeah, I was very poorly organized back then, but now I'm actually pretty well organized. Not saying that I'm the most organized ever. There are definitely people who are significantly more organized than I am, and I'm sure that in a few years I will be way more organized than I am now, and I am actually looking forward to that because I think getting better is awesome. Anyways, I think that when it comes to getting good grades, and this is not just for me, I think anyone should probably listen to this because it's relevant. It's funny that I put this towards the end. Bad structure by me, but this video isn't scripted. So anyways, I think if you want to get good grades, then what you need is, for the most part, like two things. First of all, you need to know what format your professor or your teacher wants. This, by the way, this is not just uni. This is mostly like, this experience is mostly from like high school, but this should apply to uni. You need to know how your teacher, I'm just going to say teacher, how your teacher should format it, and you need to be able to have enough knowledge so that you can flex the fact that show off the fact that you are reasonably competent. If you can do that, in my experience, you just get A's. Not that I was good at this, okay? I did not get straight A's in high school because I was trying to become an esports pro and that failed horribly. But still, If I had actually given a single flying fuck about high school, I would have probably gotten very good grades. Although I'm quite confrontational with teachers sometimes, so not straight A's. Because teachers can be absolute... I'm not gonna say that. Anyways, so the first part is obviously just knowing your stuff. So actually, no, let me give you an example of how this formula can be applied. So in high school, I had this teacher who was a complete fucking asshole. I'm just going to change his name a little bit for privacy reasons. Let's just call him Gebert. So Mr. Gebert sucked. He kind of saw himself as this final boss of high school or whatever. And there was only one pathetic, slimy, and not so great person who liked him, and yeah, this guy. Anyway, so at the start I did horribly in terms of grades, and actually a lot of other people failed horribly too. Because we had those tasks, like we got some random letter from some period in time. And then we were supposed to like put this into the context of history back then. And none of us knew what the fuck that was supposed to mean. And then at some point I figured it out because I talked to the teacher. That's actually a good way to figuring shit out, by the way, just talk to people. And then it was easy after that, because pretty much what I found out, and the teacher didn't say this to me, but the subtext, actually not, he probably didn't even mean to give it away like this, but basically the thing is, what he wanted, even though he wouldn't, if I asked him right now, he probably would not say that is what he wanted, but basically what he wanted was, he wanted you to just give him a fucking timeline, list out like all of the events of that time that were relevant in order, and just write shit like, and this led to this, and this led to this, instead of just listing it off. But basically, you just make a timeline, and then go through it as a text, write it down as a text, with stuff like, this led to this, instead of just, this happened, and then you get good grades. It was pretty simple, just memorize a timeline and do this. And had I known this before, I figured this out fairly late, but had I known this from the start, I would have gotten way better grades. Now, I wouldn't have gotten A's because this professor, again, fuck him. But I don't care if you watch just this. Actually, no, not professor, teacher. Not even a professor. Fucking pleb. Anyways, so this guy was not very generous with grades, to put it politely. But I still would have gotten fairly good grades had I just known this from the beginning. Because then all I would have done was just, okay, I ignore all of the practice we've done. And all I do is just, I memorize a timeline. And after memorizing a timeline, I'm done. I'm done. I'm just gonna put this down as a text. And I'm just gonna write it as like, this led to this and this led to this. And if you would do that, you'd get like, I don't know, like 10 points or something like that consistently. At least in that one task, but that's enough to pass. Even if you get 0 points in the other ones, you're gonna pass. And I did not give a shit about anything but passing. And by the way, with any normal teacher, you would have gotten like 15 points for that, but fuck this guy. Honestly, like, just fuck him. Anyways, so if you want to pass, then you need to know what your teachers want. And for the most part,